Three.
Yep.
One. We are live from Effinger in Bern for the
Hello.
6th Hackathon Organizers Exchange. I see people coming in now. Welcome, Zoya. We will give everyone a couple of minutes to get online, find us, and then we'll get started. If anyone doesn't know me, I'm Oleg developer of Hackathon platforms since 2011, or maybe a bit longer, can't tell, time is just flying. And I'm one of the members of the co-working community here in the center of Bern. And I have a very special guest, or rather, I'm the guest, I don't know how it is. But
I'm the guest, that's
you're
fine.
the guest?
I'm the guest.
Okay, Anna's here for the first time at Effinger, but we've been working together for many moons, and maybe you can introduce yourself as well, please.
Absolutely. So I'm Anna Sigrist. Nice to meet the ones I haven't met so far. I'm a program manager at Opendata.ch, and among other things, I co-organize or organize hackathons. So that's how Oleg and myself mostly work together so far. And yeah, first time here at Effinger, can really recommend it. It's a really cool co-working space. So thanks, Oleg, for taking me here.
You are very welcome. The place is currently open for business. And yeah, hey Zoya, welcome. So glad you could join us. Very cool. We cannot hear you, but that's because probably I'm muted. How's about now? Say something. Keep talking while I adjust my settings. Test, test, test. Does your microphone work? No. Okay, I think you maybe have to fiddle with your settings a little bit. Sometimes the button at the bottom left with the microphone icon. Because your audio was working before.
Yep.
There's a chance that it's actually mine. Let's try to do it like this. I will pause.
Does it work now?
Yes, it does.
Perfect.
Okay, problem solved. And can you hear us fine? Can you hear us clearly?
Yes, I hear all good. Just I had to put to set all settings at the beginning for this website.
Exactly. Well, while you get familiarized with the interface, Big Blue Button is a Canadian. I'd say it's global, but it started in Canada. I'm still Canadian. I'm 99% Swiss. I'm still quite proud of the technology of my adoptive country. And so it's an open source meeting room software, but like Zoom, but it's really developed for educational purposes. It's adopted by a lot of universities. And we are on the official instance hosted by ch Open, which is the Swiss Open Systems user group. I've been in countless, maybe like 100 seminars on Big Blue Button and recommend it to everybody. You can just make an account and use it. Currently, there's no real restriction. We should maybe say thank you to green.ch because they're providing them the servers for free, as far as I know, as part of their sponsorship of ch Open. So yes, we are very privileged to be at home physically here at Effinger, a community of also which supports nonprofits and freelancers and working mothers and fathers and all kinds of things, and also digitally on Big Blue Button, thanks to green.ch and ch Open. I see Eva is joining as well on a mobile phone. Hey Eva, do you want to say hi?
Hi, I'm just joining to listen in. Thanks for inviting me last minute, Oleg.
Sure. We'll do a little bit of an introduction round. I would say we wait like maybe until 10 minutes. I mean, until 10 past the hour. Just give it 5 more minutes, and then we'll kind of like really kick it off. I'm afraid the weather is not on our side today. I've had a couple of messages from people who are saying it's just been so cold, and now the weather is so warm here in Switzerland that they are prevented from joining us and are sitting on the terrace sipping their, what are they sipping? Is it cocktail hour? 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock, cocktail o'clock,
beer o'clock. Yeah, it was like, I remember yesterday I went outside for I went ice skating actually yesterday with my son, and I thought it was really perfect ice skating weather. It was really nice and frosty, but not so cold that it bites your face. And we had a great time. And this morning on my way in, I thought it was quite cold, but the weather is it just warms up so suddenly. I think I'll be out in my t-shirt after this cold. So that's the world we live in, right? It just climatic unpredictability. But good thing we have supercomputers and AI and all that to fix the climate for us, right? So let's just give them another minute, and I'm gonna just keep checking my phone to see if someone can't find their way to the second floor.
No, in the US, the way that we fix the climate is it's not allowed to talk about anymore, and you're not allowed to do any research. And, you fire all the people who are in charge of the climate, and then sort of climate change will stop too. Very simple.
Yeah, isn't there that expression, ignorance is bliss?
Yeah.
I wonder who coined that term. Must have been some public relations expert or something. Okay, so I've done a bit of broadcasting, and I figure we should slowly get going. Time is money, after all, yeah. So I would suggest we do a quick introduction. I think, Eva, you also know just me and Zoya. Yeah. So basically, I won't introduce myself except to say that I started this Hackathon Organizers Exchange last year, or maybe now it's 2 years ago, with the goal of facilitating some discussion among the community of people who organize hackathons, especially from the standpoint of a little bit of transparency into the process. We wanted to give people a chance to share some retrospective. And today we have quite a special session, I think, because this is the first time that we really want to focus on open data. And so we have Anna here from Opendata.ch to do that. So maybe you could just reintroduce yourself to Eva and Zoya.
Sure. So really nice to meet you, Zoya and Eva. I work for Opendata.ch as a program manager, and among other things, I'm organizing or co-organizing hackathons. And in that regards, I'm also working with Oleg. We've been on 2-3 hackathons together, I think. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we're always curious on how we can improve the format, how we can make it more accessible, but also make it more sustainable. So, how we can improve basically any aspect around the hackathons before the event, in the event, and also afterwards with what happens with the projects. So I'm really looking forward to exchanging with you on all that and getting to know you.
Great. And we'll get back to Anna in a bit with some questions to get us started, but I'd like to also ask Zoya to introduce yourself. And feel free to also at any point share your screen, also to stop us and ask questions. Like it's completely just interactive. We're at a virtual water cooler. So please, Zoya, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation and for the event. So in the world of hackathons, I'm complete novice, especially for the organizer of a hackathon. And I work at University of Zurich on a research project in the field of information systems. Basically, our idea is to apply the concept of government as a platform for crisis situations. And now, as part of our research project, we are doing a prototype of such a platform, which could be beneficial for public administration in crisis situations. And we thought that as a proof of concept and just to have a broader engagement into the project, we could do a hackathon at the university and see how our concept could be used in a not completely real life situation, but at least with new people on board. And that's how we came up with the idea of organizing a hackathon at our university. And by chance, we happen to know Oleg for a different reason as well, because our case study is Ukrainian refugee crisis. Back then, we were in touch with Oleg because he was involved in a great initiative of building a platform to host refugees in Switzerland. And that's one of the, case studies where we show how the private and public sector could collaborate and actually benefit of such a platform if it was done. And then we found out also that the main one of passions of Oleg was hackathons. And at that point, we had another meeting, and now we keep in touch. So that's my story.
Super
interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoya. Hey, and Eva, you've got your video on, so we can say hello as well properly to you. Would you like to do a bit of introduction? Unless there's any questions for Zoya, of course. We can come back.
Take it afterwards. Mm-hmm.
So government and crisis, that is the case study that I'm experiencing at the moment based in the US. You're probably thinking about a democratic government that experienced a crisis that's sort of handed to them by other people. But as you all follow the news, we live under a government that makes their own crisis. So it's very self-sufficient that way. I used to work for a government implementing partner. So basically part of the administration until 3 weeks ago in international development, until we were all laid off. And Oleg and I met actually through my sister, who's in Switzerland, and had some conversations about the concerns around both the public and the internal data of the US government being slashed and distorted and everything that happens there. And we've been in contact a little bit around what are some ways to support the good people that don't want this to happen, and that want to protect the data for whatever happens next. I don't have a specific hackathon plan, but I would love to, listen in and understand better. And what I do have is a lot of people who are connecting to each other and organizing all kinds of things. Let me just listen and ask questions and see where this goes.
Absolutely, Eva. That's we'll do that. And feel free to interject and also make provocative questions and requests yourself. Okay, Anna, could you maybe tell us why does Opendata.ch organize hackathons? And could you maybe show us the last 2 or 3 events or something like that? Tell us about the ones you've organized.
Absolutely. So I think there's several reasons for why we organize hackathons, or why we believe hackathons are a great tool for us. I think one is to really bring together different people and really have them collaborate on stuff, not just, you know, the usual conference setting where you talk a lot, and that is also valuable. I love talking to people, but, you know, to really get going on projects and really have this intense work setting where people just start with something. And there's 2 days, usually for us it's 2 days. I know that's not the same at every hackathon, but usually for us it's 2 days where you really just sit down and go very practical. And I think that's one really, really big thing for us, that we really believe hackathons are a great way just to break the ice and really start a collaboration between different people, different organizations, people within a different organization. It doesn't really matter who, but really to get going on just working together and exploring different challenges together and getting on developing ideas to different problems. So I think that the collaboration is really one really big thing for us. And of course, as open data, we're always interested in data as well. So hackathons are always a good kind of fixed point in the agenda where organizations know, okay, at that point in time, we really should have this data set available so people can actually work on whichever challenge we want them to work on. So it kind of provides a little bit of a push as well, if you want, for organizations to actually get their data ready, publish their data sets, and make them available for the hackathons. Because sometimes these kind of projects otherwise just are, well, everyone says, yeah, obviously we need the data, we should publish it, but there's no fixed day or a fixed use case for which it has to be done. And so hackathons are sometimes just a good, you know, fixed point in time where, okay, we need it at that point. And then actually something is going to happen with the data as well. So that's another really big thing for us. Yeah, and then obviously it's also, sometimes it just helps in specific topics. Like if we have a topic with an organization that they don't really know how to proceed, a bit like what you mentioned, Zoya, a hackathon can really, really helpful to just get some initial ideas, get the ball rolling, and then make bigger projects after the event. So really to kick off the ball on some, it doesn't have to be greenfield, but sometimes it helps really if you don't really have an idea yet or an approach yet, to just get people together, have them work these 2 intense days just to get a starting point on a topic. Probably there's more, but that's on top of my mind, what we really, yeah, why we really believe in hackathons as a tool.
Do you want to share your screen, maybe show us a couple of events?
Yes.
Or I could share.
Yeah, you can maybe go to the Glam Hack page. So one area that we work in while Oleg is getting the page is the GLAM sector, so galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. We've done the 10th hackathon now, and this year was all about connecting different cultures as well, so making data sets here in Switzerland available for different cultures around the world, and kind of bridging the gaps between different regions of the world through data that the GLAM institutions have available. So there's been many different projects. One, for instance, that I really like is kind of a city tour of Lucerne here in Switzerland, where you can walk around the city and you, in the real world, look at the monument, and then you get on your app a picture of what that monument looked like X years ago. Can be 50 years ago, 100 years ago, doesn't matter. But so they made the historic pictures of different monuments in the city available, and you as a visitor today can kind of access the real monument in your real city tour and the pictures of the historic, of what it looked like X years ago.
Which one was that? Is the randomly wandering around?
I think so, yes. Yeah, that's probably the one. I don't know if it still works, actually, the prototype that they did. Maybe you have to be on site in Lucerne to to explore it.
Kind of get the
Yeah,
idea.
you get the idea, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're away from the
I'm
spot.
90,000
Very
steps
true.
away.
So yeah, it's just one example of how this data from museums, in that case pictures, can be used in a small app nowadays. We had like 70 people there in total from many different institutions. This was mostly from Switzerland, but we also did a collaboration with Mexico this year, where art students in Mexico actually used data from Swiss institutions on Mexican culture and made their own projects in current Mexican culture. So there was also this international link of bringing together Swiss institutions who have data on Mexican heritage and culture, and actually having projects worked on in Mexico by art students who use that data then in their context. So there was a lot happening there. Again, I think one key thing was really to bring together different people from the different museums, but also other cultural institutions. And yeah, as it was the anniversary edition, I think it was a bit bigger with more side program as usual. But it's been really a great story, this Climac. I mean, you've been there for all of them, I think. So yeah, long history to that event.
Yeah, it felt almost like a marathon also because of the 3 locations. I have to say, It was a bit atypical for hackathons that it was not in one, but in 3 different locations. And we literally were like walking a lot during the program to get from place to place. So very, who says hacking and sport can't be combined?
Yep.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Definitely, yeah.
Please.
Yeah, that's very interesting format of a hackathon, especially with the cultural heritage. That's not some data that would come first on the mind, and it looks like there is already a series of those. And as far as I see from your website, it's also different locations. So every time you find some different partners on that, is that correct? So yeah, I'm super curious because I also used to work in culture a while ago, and it would be interesting to know also who were the participants and what kind of institutions participated in the hackathons as data providers.
Yeah, so data providers are often different museums and libraries mostly. So they really open up their collections and the data around their collections to the public. We don't in that sector, but Oleg, you know more about the data sets there. It's not really so many public institutions in terms of government or anything. It's really more the culture institutions themselves who open up their data sets, right?
Well, the first event was in the National Library.
True.
And I would say there was just a very strong push for this topic from people in the archives as well, the Bundesarchiv, because at the time there were also they were running the Open Data Swiss, the Open Government Data Project was with them actually. And in Switzerland, I think there's a very strong public sector support with initiatives like Pro Helvetia that have national scope. So the question for me a little bit is also the Bundesamt für Kultur, how much they were involved. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of also always the question: is it living culture or is it paper culture? I think we're kind of more with the paper culture when it comes to ground. Yeah. But it is also, I would say, from all the open data hackathons, the one which has the most artistic license. People really come up with great project ideas and they go full in. And the presentations often have a very theatrical component to them. Yes. Very entertaining. It's pure hackathon entertainment.
Yeah. And in terms of participants, many come from the GLAM institutions themselves, so from museums, libraries, archives. we always also have some people from Wikimedia there who have either have their own projects or contribute to other projects. We have students from that sector, or also researchers from that sectors who participate often. Yeah, I would say those are the biggest groups, probably. Did I answer all your questions, or did I get lost in my...
Yes, that's really interesting. Thank you. And like as you said, the participants are mostly from the institutions themselves. But do you also manage to bring more data science specialists, or are they interested in such hackathons? Or is that not their focus?
So I'm not sure if I understood the question already.
I think the question was if is there people also with data science background joining these events?
Yeah, there is, but we one issue we sometimes face is that we don't have enough people with tech backgrounds in those events. So we have a lot of people with creative ideas or with the knowledge from the specific sector, and not enough people who have the data or the tech background. That we have them, but it's usually one category where we could get more people.
I mean, we started out really with I think much more focus on data collection rather than data exploitation, let's say, first of all. And I think there's really like a core group of people that really make sure, like you said, that the data sets are prepared and published. OpenGLAM is, by the way, really like has a very active presence on the Swiss Open Government Data Portal. So you can actually go and find OpenGLAM, and basically it encompasses all the smaller institutions that do not have otherwise a visibility on the government platforms, right? So that's really like a very clear value add that these activities bring. It's basically, we help your data to be seen by the academic, commercial, activist community, right? And there's a lot of work that goes into preparing that before the hackathon, right? And of course, there are a few of the people who are involved with the publication that show up. And we also have because these are non-competitive events, I have to say that there's a very like open culture between the teams. So I saw a lot of sharing of resources happening, and people would jump in and, you know, help with some technical problem. There was very collaborative spirit.
Yeah, I think if we take the organizer's perspective, what Oleg says, it's really key for us to beforehand invest a lot of time to work with the different data providers to make the data sets available. So when I said before that the hackathon is the deadline, it doesn't mean that work because of that just happens on their own, but this is really something where we invest a lot of time to accompany them, and especially Oleg is also involved there to really support them in the process of publishing the data sets and making them ready for the hackathon. And also on the side of the challenges, so usually in the hackathons we have different projects that we call challenges, and also there a lot of work from the perspective of the organizers goes into refining these challenges, making sure that the challenge owners really frame their question well so that they get the kind of results that they're expecting. So it's not just the hack event itself, but really I think the preparation is really, really key to have a good hackathon in the end.
But maybe we can also hear a little bit from the participant perspective, because we have someone joining us.
I've never been to the hackathon, sorry.
But you've been to other hackathons. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Derrick Oswald, retired, ex-tech software development, and got into this through Oleg and his Open Electric Data Hack Days. And that's my most experience in Switzerland with Hack Days. And I guess it's a different sort of an environment there. It's more of a, we have all this data and we have no idea what to do with it. And so most of it is about framing a challenge such that it's not a master's thesis to be done, but more of a, can you somehow smash these pieces of information together and come up with something interesting?
Thank you so much for joining us. It's always great to have you on board. And maybe if we could continue a little bit with your side of the story. Do you want to show us the Open Energy Hack Days or any other event?
Yes, if you could go to the Hack Day webpage from last year as well. So the Energy Sphere is another.
Just the Opendata.ch Hack Days?
Yeah, and then I can do the Outlook to Smart Retail as well. Yeah, energy data is another big area where we have been organizing hackathons for quite some years as well. There, it's a lot of the different companies involved in the hackathon, but also the different public institutions who work in the energy, data sphere. And it shows a bit the difference between different hackathons. So whereas the Glam Hack is really, you feel this artsy spirit and the creativity in the presentations that Oleg just mentioned before, and the Energy Data Hack Days is, I would say, much more, well, they both have structured, but yeah, it feels much more structured, and you feel the presence of companies, let's say, not in a bad way, but it's a different vibe to it. So there we work on energy data related challenges. It's I think it was around 100 participants this year, so it's a little bit bigger as well. And it's really, again, there, I think one key thing is just to bring the different perspectives together and get new people with new ideas to work on your data and really come up with new solutions to the problems you might face. So really the different companies bring in actual challenges that they face. And I think there really you feel the power of having people with different backgrounds and from different organizations just coming together and spending these 2 days working on the challenges. So yeah, that's another big one that we organize yearly since quite some years. And yeah, it's just it kind of shows a bit the different vibes that we have in the different hackathons, depending on the participants and the way it is structured and what the interests of the challenge owners also are. Yeah.
Do you want to share us the project you worked on?
No. There were several in different years, but nothing special about it. Nothing.
Okay. So we can just quickly, I'll just show you quickly a couple of the electrical infrastructure, logistic truck project, applying graph theory to clean energy districts. That's a good example of a hardcore data science problem. The load profile clustering, so with smart meter data. One that's really, well, I thought that it was interesting also that the two Swissgrid challenges, they really brought in a lot of infrastructure. So there was a kind of I mean, Swissgrid is the government's platform for managing electrical grid. And they really take these events seriously. And basically they promised to the teams that would work on their challenge to have pretty exclusive access to data and computing infrastructure that would be very hard to, almost impossible to do outside of this particular context. And then they would really do forecasting scenarios and so on. Yeah, lots of coding challenges like this one. The demos had lots of fancy graphs. And people were talking a lot about the technical aspects of their solutions. But again, no prizes.
Free lunch.
Free lunch. Yeah, usually our hackathons are free of charge completely for participants. That is sometimes with overnight stays, sometimes not, depending on the location and how international or interregional the participants are. But yeah, they're always free of charge. Yeah, and then one small one we have coming up that is again a very different vibe is the Smart Regio Lab, which will take place in Lenzburg end of March, 21st of March. No, 21st, 22nd of March. There it's really about local and regional challenges around Lenzburg, which for you, Eva, is a small city in Switzerland, in the center of Switzerland. And what I really love there is that they have really very down to earth and very broad challenges. So one is the Förster. What's the Förster in English?
Forest?
The forest.
Oh, forestry. Yeah.
The forestry guy goes into the forest and wants to take notes on different locations in the forest. What, like, can you develop me some tool that I could use for that? All the way to how can we revitalize the old town of Lenzburg? What can we do for business owners and citizens to, again, go more to the old town and have a more vibrant old town again. So it's really broad in terms of the challenges, and very regionally anchored there. So it's again a very specific vibe to that event as well. So if any of you know anyone who wants to participate, we still look especially for people with tech backgrounds, so spread the word. Yeah, but that's really also very nice. There it's less focused on one specific topic. There it's really more around, okay, what can we do for the region in the format of this hackathon? What kind of solutions can we come up with for the region?
And with that, we touch upon probably one of the main problems of hackathon organizing, which is you're always pushing the next one. Right?
Yeah.
And would you say that Opendata has a reliable community? Do you see a little bit some familiar faces between these events, or do you think these are very different target groups these different events address?
A bit of both, I would say. I think there is the hack goers, the hack nerds that are really the core of the hack communities, and then there's topic specific communities that just go to the hackathon that is relevant to them in terms of the topic. And what I also like though is that I'm not so sure about the numbers in the energy data hack days, but at least for the glam hack, for instance, we get a lot of new participants every time as well, which shows that it's not just the regular ones who keep on coming, but also attracting new faces. And I think that's very key in terms of the diversity of the events and the openness, that we make sure we don't just talk to the people who already know what hackathons are about and what they can bring to the table, but also to spend time and effort into attracting new people and making sure that we communicate the format in a way that makes it accessible for new participants as well.
I might add the new participants always learn something. They are usually coming into it with little or no background well, for the energy data hack days as an example, no real electrical background, no real, other than I pay my bills to BKW or whatever, and they inevitably come up with, wow, I didn't know it was so complicated. So it's an educational thing as well as a hackathon thing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Eva or Zoya, could you maybe just quickly chime in with a question? I'm a little bit worried whether you can still hear us fine because my screen is froze.
Yeah, it's all good for me.
And I actually have a question.
Awesome, please.
I would love to hear a little bit more about how you go about framing the challenges. So it seems like there's an overarching, this is the theme of the hackathon. And then if I understand it correctly, you have specific people who have a problem and want some help. And then how do you help them frame it in a way that's sort of open enough, but also directive enough? And then how are they involved or not once the hacking starts? Are they sort of members of the teams who develop things, or do they just give a question, frame it, and then they disappear until something is shared with them? How does all of that work?
Mm-hmm. So for the first part of the framing of the challenge, it's a real process usually. Like it's many times they come with an initial idea and then we really do workshops with them and we really work out with them, okay, what exactly do you want of the participants? What exists already? What do you know? What kind of data do you have? It's really a process of massaging the challenge until it's very specific enough to get an answer within 2 days, but also open enough that the team still can have some creativity and come up with their own solutions. So it's a kind of process for which we accompany them usually in more or less 2 workshops where we really specify the challenge with them. And it might even happen that they say, okay, well, I realize this is not something that can be solved in a hackathon, or we have to reframe it in a way that makes it solvable. So, or there's actually a solution already, so there's no point to the challenge. So yeah, it's kind of an intense process that we, or intense, it's a process that we do with them. It's a service that we offer, yeah. And then to the second part, their involvement in the hackathon. So we really strongly encourage them to be with the team throughout the hackathon. So they always pitch their challenge in the beginning of the hackathon. That's always the opening. And then they're free to leave, but we really tell them the result they will get is so much better if they stay with the team, because the team can bounce ideas immediately. They can check, does this exist? Does this make sense? Is this helpful? Like, they can get roadblocks out of the way for the team. So for us, we see much better results if the challenge owner is there throughout the process. It works without, but it might just be that the result is not helpful for them in the end. As a participant, how is that for you with the challenge owner present versus not?
I put in a challenge to the Make Zurich hackathon, and I had initially thought of quickly summarized a camera and recording device to stop people from making graffiti on walls and stuff. And it didn't get anybody participating. I was the only one, as the owner, who was working on it. But I think that was because Make Zurich has already got their challenges well formulated, and they have city support, they have data for it, and it makes it easier for somebody to jump in on it. Whereas I was coming in it kind of cold, and I had little parts in a box, and I thought, well, let's try making this, but it didn't get any attendees, any people. But
were you allowed to present your results?
Yes, I did.
Did you have an audience?
There was, well, it was the same audience as everybody else. It was the end summary thing. So
it just proves that maybe challenges are a little bit overrated. You know, like the whole team building process we think is so central to hackathons. But if all hackathons do is provide a good Bühne, now I'm losing my English, good stage, right? For good ideas, for maybe these Querdenker, here I go again, who come in with an interesting proposal that people maybe don't understand immediately, then it has a worth already.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, maybe also, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question about types of data, because for our case, we're looking into a lot of migration data. I was wondering if you ever had such a collaboration or looked into it and for some reason decided not to.
Not to include it?
I mean, for some reason, I don't know. For example, as far as I know, one people I talked to, they organized a hackathon on health, and initially they wanted to get data from hospitals, which at some point they realized is next to impossible. Yeah, so, and for our case, we're looking into migration data. And yeah, my question is whether you ever had worked with it or did not work with it for some reason.
Migration data specifically, not in my projects. You have a broader view of other hackathons. And yeah, I mean, hospital data, especially and generally sensitive data, it's a question of whether you can prepare the data in a way that it can be used, like anonymized, so that it can be used by hack participants anyways. Sometimes that's possible, sometimes it's not. But yeah, we now in this Smart Retail Lab have one challenge where it's about how people vote. So obviously that's sensitive data, and there we can just, one step of the preparation of the challenge is to anonymize that data so it can be used in the hackathon.
Mm-hmm.
So you're anonymizing that data?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a service as well.
Well, not us,
yes,
us.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking as well. That to prepare that data.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people definitely have experience working with with this, at the Energy Hack Days, the SwissGrid projects require signing a non-disclosure agreement. So you only get the data access if you agree to delete it at the end of the Hack Days, right? And obviously, they're not going to share anything anyway that is super sensitive with you.
EKZ had already anonymized their data when they presented it at the hackathon. There
you go. That's a good example, yeah. So it's kind of like this due diligence that is part of publication of open data. Ideally, it's all open data, but hackathons historically were used by Opendata.ch in order to, solve the cart before the horse. What's the expression there? Chicken before the egg, right? People want to publish data, but they don't have a use case for it. Without a use case, you can't have data, right? So it's kind of trying to create a sort of a gray area, a safe place, like I said, that we can meet and look at the options. And it's okay to come to the hackathon with a challenge that requires data where the data is not available or doesn't even exist. I think it's a community that's very interested in being asked to be involved in the process of brainstorming data sources, doing online research, helping with these sorts of problems. We're one of those kind of special interest groups that really cares about data of all kinds, all shapes and all sizes. And if you have very sensitive data, I always basically tell people to start small, come up with a sample, synthetic data, right, where you just come up with something somewhat realistic without sharing any actual values is always good practice if you can do that. And now we have a lot of people using LLMs, for example, to create fake data, hallucinatory data, whatever, that represents kind of what they're looking for, and then just working slowly towards that may involve different agencies or even their users in improving the data quality. But yeah, in specifically to your question around migration data, I cannot remember that there was a hackathon specifically, at least that we've organized, that was specifically dealing with the topic of migration. I do know that other organizations in Switzerland have organized hackathons, in particular, I think, around like journalistic efforts to understand things like Frontex. There have been hackathons, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting input of trying to mock data, to simulate it in case of sensitive data. Yeah, that's very interesting. Thank you.
And we did organize health hackathons like 10 years ago. That never took off. Like it did not become a working group and a regular hackathon like the Energy Hack Days. But you can look into a group called Health Hacks if you're interested. Hacking Health. Like that's an organization that specifically organizes health hackathons, and they're kind of, I think, still active in the south of Switzerland, at least in Valais. They organize events.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll share with another research group who were doing that. Yeah, I see it.
Nice. So you need to have a little bit of time. We've got about 10 minutes left on our scheduled time. I think we want to stay to that. Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about where you're coming from. You showed us a couple of hackathons. I don't know if you want to. I can no longer share my screen anyways. If you wanted to share another one, you'd have to put the links in the chat. But basically on hack.opendata.ch, all those hackathons are there. They're all collected together on the Drip data platform. Maybe one thing about the background you're looking at, I just had time to put up the presentation slides from the first or second Hack.org.x meeting, because I wanted to come back to this topic of linking open data. So linked data is a very big topic in Switzerland, in the open data community. We may not be aware of it, but it's at the research level, basically what people talk about when they talk about data publication being done well. They talk about linked open data as being like this 5 stars or whatever kind of high quality data publication. And one of the things that open data does, in my view, is archive the hackathons. Can you tell us anything about that? Like, do you think this is like a role for the association to keep track of the hackathons and the results, and any thoughts about where that's going in the future?
Yeah, so it's a big debate about the sustainability of the hackathons and what happens with the projects afterwards. I think one key element is that definitely that at the very least, the work that is done during the hackathon is documented. So we usually use a platform both for the publication of the challenges before the hackathon, and then also for the work that has been done during the hackathon. So we use DripDat as a platform for that you know for the event as well, from the event as well. So we believe it's very important to make the work that has been done available there for anyone else to pick it up, or for the actual people who worked on the project to continue the work, but really to make whatever has been created during the hackathon available to the community, to the challenge owners, to everyone who might be interested to pick it up and further work on it. I think that's a key aspect of openness, not just in terms of open data, but openly sharing whatever has been developed during the hackathon. And then obviously also the data sets are being published and are being documented. So that's also obviously for open data a key part, that those data sets are out there afterwards and during the hackathon already. And yeah, I think mostly the project documentation and data documentation are the key things for the hackathons from our perspective. But to be fair, it is one of the key challenges as well of, okay, so now we have this great prototype or this great idea, so who picks this up? What happens now? Because as I mentioned before, one great asset is of hackathons is to bring people from different backgrounds, different departments, different organizations, whatever, together. But that also means that those people don't naturally afterwards meet on Monday and can continue work on that project in the same group very easily. So how to keep the ball rolling on things that have been developed during the hackathon is a key challenge. It is something to be considered. It can be designed and discussed beforehand. There can be the challenge owner, for instance, can make sure that afterwards there's a follow-up. There's things that can be done, but it's not something that comes naturally out of the format of a hackathon, that after the hackathon, the project will continue.
Well, except hopefully the big project of
yes.
people working together.
Yes,
rather
absolutely.
Than apart in their
Absolutely.
own ivory towers, walled gardens, corporate contracts, and so on.
For sure, for sure.
So maybe as a possible step, one could apply to the prototype fund in order to make the follow-up possible. Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the formats that we have, or the big format that we have for the follow-up is the prototype fund. You can also find that online. It's a program where we support ideas in a very initial stage with some initial funding. And they can get up to 100,000 francs to develop the first prototype, hence the name, and really make the first step from the idea to an actual implemented prototype. So that's one of the follow-ups we have for things that may come out of a hackathon, to afterwards go to the prototype fund and get funding for this initial phase.
Yeah. Or for the second prototype, as it may be. You don't have to go to a hackathon, but if you've come to a hackathon, made your first prototype, you're even more qualified to apply for a second.
Absolutely, prototype. Yeah.
And there's also the work of the Arbeitsgruppe and the working groups. So, for example, in the Energy Hack Days, there's platforms being built, and these projects are going to get pitched to some ministry, maybe. So, government might look at them, or companies might be interested in sponsoring the projects directly. Of course, every company that comes with a challenge, on Monday has to present it to its corporate board or whatever.
Yeah.
It's one of those key results, key result indicators, KPI. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes the hackathons are also part of bigger projects. So I think a bit the way I understood it for you, Zoya, that you have something specific that you're working on, and then the hackathon is a step along the way to make progress within a project. And then it's also obviously much easier to create a follow-up to whatever is being done at the hackathon, because you have this existing project structure around. It's not guaranteed either, but it is within an existing structure.
Yeah, on one side, true. On the other side, our participants will mostly be students. And therefore, for us, one of the big challenges is the participation rate, so that people don't drop out halfway through or earlier or later. We also don't know if we can ensure the quality of the final result, and therefore we cannot guarantee, okay, the winner would get implemented, or I don't know, can do a master thesis with us or PhD. So on one side, for us, it's a more controlled group because we know the students, we know ways of motivating them. On the other side, I think the quality of the results can be unpredictable, but I think it's not only our settings. I think it's more or less universal.
Yeah.
So we're running up to the hour. Eva, Zoya, if you need to drop off and want to just share a final question with us, that would be the time to do it. Derrick as well, of
I
course.
actually have maybe a final insight that I have gained from this, and that is, it seems like when you look at a hackathon from, not knowing anything, it seems like all the work is happening throughout the 2 days, but really it looks like it's the time before that sets you up for success, and that a lot of the direction and the possibility of follow-up, and both that you're setting the themes right, but also that you have a place for the initiatives to land and be continued, that's all work that has to happen beforehand, so that you don't just have a lot of heat created in a room and then afterwards everybody goes home and had 2 wonderful days.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, from my side, it's very important to see that there is a community out there who already thought of different aspects along the hackathons, and that's really very helpful because, I probably 100% agree with Eva. Me, when I participated in hackathon, I was like, so cool. That's such a nice event. But now I realize that in order for it to be really good, there is a lot of preliminary work. And thank you for organizing such events and for sharing your expertise in the field.
Thank you. And feel free to connect through LinkedIn, or I think my email is also on Dripad or somewhere. So if ever you want to exchange one-on-one or to bounce some ideas, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
So, and you've mentioned the event in Lenzburg. That's on the 21st and 22nd of March.
Yes.
In fact, it's quite funny because we have 2 events within 20 kilometers of each other on the same days, and we're organizing both of them. So it's going to be a fun, hacky weekend. I hope you will come as well to join us at the Farming Hack Days and the Lenzburg Hack Days. And we have the hackathon season is opening. I have a feeling that we have a lot of events coming up. Then the next Energy Hack Days, people were asking also today, is on the 15th and 16th of September. Date it was on the website, it hasn't been really widely announced
I
yet.
was like, I haven't heard.
Yeah,
great.
and that brings me to the point. In order to discover hackathons, you can go on Opendata.ch for the ones that Opendata organizes, and we have a new project called Hack Integration. That's the one I already mentioned to Zoya, I think. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. It's a research project into migration. So it's actually, the idea is to try to see if hackathons can help refugees get a foot in the workplace. And we're partnering with several organizations that are familiar with refugees, social work, and hackathons. And there's a website called hackintegration.ch already with a database of upcoming hackathons events. We call it the Hack Finder. The links are on the platform. So if you go on hackorgex.dripdat.cc, where this event is announced, there's like a box which talks about the Hack Finder being a new tool that we're developing just also for ourselves to help plan upcoming events, to avoid collisions like the one in a couple of weeks. We will also really like organizers to look at the database, look at the community calendar, and at least plan their big public events around each other rather than overlapping. There are two other things I was hoping to mention, but yeah, as we're out of time, feel absolutely free to drop off. Otherwise, I will keep on talking and tell you about the two other boxes which I put on the platform. The other box is very closely related to this hack integration. It's Hack the Hackathon. This is an international event dedicated to researching the field of hackathons. And our group has been involved with this since last year, since actually 2 years ago, sorry, from when the event was actually held in Geneva. So this is an international research conference for people who study the topic of hackathons. Yeah, we're not a niche thing anymore. We're going full mainstream, right? No, not quite. But yeah, this is a very serious colloquium, and it was in San Diego last year. So very, very interesting also to see the perspectives from around the world on how hackathons are run and what need they fill. The next event will be around the middle of October. So yeah, 15, 16. It'll be held in Copenhagen. So it'll be back in Europe this year. And I'm probably going to be involved in the organizing of it somewhat. If I love the idea of going to Copenhagen for a week. Just be honest about that. It's a great town. And it's a great little community. So what I was hoping to do is to share a little bit the outcomes from last year's event. I think it's good that we kept the focus today on Opendata.ch. I think there will be another Hack Orgex meeting like this one in between now and October, and then I'll use the chance to show you some photos and show you some, especially like insights that are coming out from people who are publishing papers, doing surveys. And this is also what Hack Integration is doing now at all the Opendata.ch events coming up. There will be surveys available both to help organizers get a better understanding of those KPIs we discussed, but also specifically for the people who are involved in this pilot study, which are refugees. They will be tasked with helping us to understand the experience better, really from the perspective of helping someone in their career, integration, cultural issues, that kind of thing. So there's definitely going to be, I think, interesting research being done at upcoming hackathons in Switzerland and beyond. And the last box that's on the platform, called TechNI, is also related to that. Basically, one of the early outputs of this research project has been to make improvements to DripDat, the platform that we use at Opendata.ch. In particular, we're making it possible for people to share their CVs. So you can export your LinkedIn CV and import it into the platform, and you can tag your profile with skills that you're bringing into a project, as well as the skills you want to have. And TechNI is just something I kind of came up with in a lucid dream or something. And it's actually an old Greek word for skills, like technology skills and so on. And basically, this is now something you can add to your project challenge as well. So on the platform, when you're writing your challenge statement, you can tag your projects with the skills you are either expecting and, because it's always and hoping people will develop as part of the project, right? So basically the goal, one of the goals of our research project is to actually make improvements to hackathons in the way they run and offer some tools to organizers and participants. This TechNI feature is a very early output of this research project. There's a lot more coming up. And if you want to beta test this feature, there are instructions on that page where you can go and play around, upload your CV, tag some challenges. Yeah, and send us some feedback. I hope I haven't bored you with this. Just wanted to make a couple of, okay, we did lose Eva, but Zoya, you're still with us?
Yes, thank you for the updates. And unfortunately, I actually also need to go. Thank you very much, and let's stay in touch.
Bye bye.
Joanna, it was nice meeting you. Goodbye.
Have a great evening. Bye, Zoya. Ciao. Right. I think we can end the recording at this point. Yeah. I hope you're okay with us recording this. I'll share the recording just with the participants before we publish it anywhere. I don't think you can stop it.
No, I cannot do that. No.
But I think if I restart my computer, the
That's
meeting will
definitely
just
to stop it.
meeting will end.
Now, it might not store it in a format that you would like.
So, any last words, or forever hold your peace before I hit the power button?
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh yes, really. This is the final countdown.
It seems very drastic.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm all about the drama. All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Goodbye, Earth. Nice knowing you.
You are currently the only person in this conference.